Back everyone to another video. Before we begin, I'd like to say thank you all for being so kind and supportive while I was away. I know I wasn't away for that long, but I didn't want to take such a very long break and make any of you wait, of course. I want to thank personally Alpha 115, Dawn Animations, and RAVENTAIL 21 for being there as my comfort when I was going through a lot. Dawn made such a beautiful animation, and so did Alpha, which really had me happy to see because I noticed that people were caring about me, and Raven for just being a very supportive friend and just being there when I needed her and helping me cry out my problems. It was just amazing to have such a great friend like her. So just please go pay your respects and love to RAVENTAIL, Alpha 115, and Dawn Animations, and all of my other friends. But besides the point, I'd like to say just thank you everyone for being so kind and supportive while I was away for a little bit. So like I promised, I'm gonna come back with something great. And ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for, I give to you Hypno and Mark backstory explanation. I may be stuttering a lot through this video because sometimes I forget the whole script myself, but because I'm not really reading from anything, I'm saying what's popping up in the mind and what I remember so clearly that I've created. So I just want to let everyone know that this is the video you've been waiting for. Second, I may not post constantly because I am going to try and post Hypno and Mark more, like the explanation, like part 2, part 3, but animations and memes are gonna have to be paused because or postponed because I am currently stressing out about school. So yeah, let's get into it. So before we begin, I'd like to say there are going to be different POVs, as in Marks, as in Hypnos, and we're gonna start with Mark. We're gonna start with Hypno. No, actually, I told you I stutter. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. So let's begin. So basically, my whole world, there's something called you can either have powers or you can't. If you watch My Hero Academia, you get what I mean. So basically, if you're born with powers, then you're like everyone else. But if you don't, you're kind of an outcast. No one really likes you because you don't have powers. So Mark was born in a village along with Hypno, same village. And this village, everyone was nice. Everyone had their own powers, but there was only not everyone has powerful powers. Like they only have like little things, little easy things, like levitation, like easy little things. They don't have like fire, ice, nothing like that. So when Mark was born, his parents they didn't want him, so they gave him away to an abortion, but the abortion ended up not taking him, so they just put him in a foster care home. Of course, nobody wanted Mark, but there was a reason. Mark was born without powers, and because of that, everyone thought that he was an outcast. Nobody wanted to be around him, nobody liked him, no one thought he was great. They all just thought he was an outcast who deserved to be alone, and yeah. So, Mark grew up not sad, but happy. He was always cheerful. He managed to make some kids in the foster care home excited before they left with their new families. He was just always supportive and the friend that everyone needed. Mark ended up, he actually, one day he got out of the foster care home because he was curious to see, all the other kids playing outside his age. And he notices that much kids are playing and he wants to join, but something catches his eye in the way behind the camp, some kind of noise, and he sneaks away from camp. No, he sneaks away from the village. I keep saying camp. What is this? He keeps sneaking away from the village, and he peeks and he sees Hypno. Hypno is a very quiet person. He doesn't really talk or play with kids. He thinks they're useless and a waste of time. He'd rather just be alone and focus on himself. So Mark finds Hypno and he introduces himself cheerfully. And Hypno, disgusted, he does not want people to be with, so he just asks if he could leave him alone. Mark doesn't back down that easily, so Mark refuses and just continues to try and compliment him and get his friendship until Hypno finally just gives up and just goes along with it. So they're friends. Mark is showing Hypno fun things to do. Hypno's slowly getting interested in it. Like, Mark is being that one friend. Or friends. So, Mark, one day, like I said, Mark doesn't have powers. So this can lead to constant bullying. Mark he was alone one day, and that's when, like, the bullying got worse and worse, and he got bullied, he got kicked, he got wounded. And, like, no one really cared or stopped the bullies because they knew everything about Mark. They knew he wasn't special. They knew he had no powers. They knew he was nothing. So bullying him was okay in their opinion. But one day when he was getting bullied, Hypno ended up seeing this. And everyone in the village, the kids, they stayed away from Hypno because for some reason, it was his eyes that always scared them. Hypno had, like, hypnotizing eyes. For the design I had, like, they're very hypnotizing. So they're scared that he's just gonna do something bad to them. So they never liked him just because of his eyes. So, because those eyes were very powerful eyes, and, like, nobody in the village or in that part of the world had that kind of power. So they knew, like, to stay away from him. So one day Mark sees people bullying Mark. And he goes up to them, and he goes in front of Mark, and he just gives them, like, this stare. And the bullies just, like, back up. And then he looks at the bullies, and this is the first time he's ever really talked to someone besides Mark, and he just says in, like, the very, like, creepiest voice, or, like, dark, he goes, "Why are you wasting your time bullying him for?" And they look at him, and they start pointing at each other and apologizing before they run off. Mark and Hypno are, okay. Hypno helps Mark up, he apologizes, hopes he's okay. Mark isn't even, like, but the fact he's not even sad that he just got beat up. He's happy that Hypno stood up for himself, and he gets really excited and starts complimenting him, and, this gets Hypno kind of flustered and annoyed, and he tells him be quiet, and, their friendship just keeps going. And when one day, I guess, let's say a year passes, they gotta be about 12 or 13, and this is the right age where Hypno develops his powers. And Hypno, being very powerful, got a power that nobody in the village had, and a power that everyone thought that was way too powerful and way too unique for him. And his power was fire. Not just any type of fire, but green fire. Which, like I said, is something nobody really ever saw, because green fire wasn't really popular, and it hasn't ever been done before. So, like, a lot of people thought he was cool. They started liking him, started getting interested in him. And Hypno, actually, for the first time, felt very proud of himself. Felt very proud. And Hypno was so, like, confident. And he ended up showing off his powers. But, like, he never left Mark behind. He knew that. He'd rather have shown Mark his powers first. But he was crowded with a bunch of people, and, it was just too much. So Mark actually walked away because he didn't want to be a burden and attract attention to him. So, one day, let's say a month, Hypno's powers are so, like, strong, it's just really hard for him to control. And he has an accident. He accidentally ends up using too much of his powers while he was playing around with them, and he ended up burning his whole home, everyone, his family, his mom, his dad, his little sister, everyone just ended up burning alive. And when he looked at himself, he thought, God, I'm a monster, in his head. And everyone in the village just looked at him with disgust, more than they hated Mark. And they called him names such as monster, creature, a burden, murderer, and it all just got to Hypno so bad that he had enough. So after he killed his family, he ends up deciding he's gonna leave. But the first person he tells is none other than Mark. He tries to explain to Mark that he wants to leave, that he's gonna run away right now, and he wants to urge Mark. Then he shakes him. He says, Mark, wake up. And Mark looks at him confused, and he goes, what's wrong, Hypno? What are you doing in the foster homes? Hypno smiles, and before he shakes his head and then says, I'm gonna run away, and I want you to come with me. Nobody in the village respects you anyways, right? So it's better to just get out of here. You're gonna be with me, so I'll protect you, I promise. Mark understands that what Hypno says is true. He's not respected in there. He's correct. But there's something that he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to run away from the problems. He wants to face them head on. So, Hypno lures Mark to the gate, trying to persuade him into joining him and running away. But Mark snatches his hand away from him and looks at him with just fear. And he says, I don't want to run away, Hypno. And Hypno is confused. And then he gets a little agitated. Why not? He yells. Come on, sun's gonna come any second now. It's our only chance. And Mark just shakes his head and just looks down. Of course he doesn't want to betray his friend. He's just hesitant. He doesn't want to run away. It's cold and dark out there and nowhere to eat. He's afraid. He's never tough and strong like Hypno. He could never look a bully in the eye or do anything cool like he did. He just knows that he's not perfect. He's not grayed out. So he looks at Hypno and says, I can't do it, Hypno. I'm sorry. I'm not cut out to run away. Hypno doesn't even hesitate anymore before he looks down and just says, in the darkest, quietest voice ever, You'd rather stay here than run away with me. Why? They treat you like dirt here, Mark. And you want to stay here than run away with me. Do you not trust me or something? They both are silent, but then Mark just sighs and looks away. And this just causes Hypno to lose faith in everyone, including Mark. And he just says, Fine. It's fine. Stay here then if you don't want to if you won't come. Go inside before you get sick. I'm leaving. But Hypno, he tries to hesitate him. You can't leave. You'll die out there. Someone with your powers or whatever, you could die. Hypno just looks at him and says, I'm the one who's facing my fears, not you, Mark. Get that through your head. Now go inside before you get sick. Before Mark can say anything, Hypno just runs. He runs into the dark abyss of the woods and never returns. Part 2 is gonna come soon. Skirt, tell me in the comments what you guys think is gonna happen next.